Okay, this is the second part in the series, What Do You Really Mean? And today we're going to be discussing simple supply and demand economics and the US debt clock, just to show you how it all relates to how important it is. Okay, remember this for accountants and non-accountants. Okay, so here's where we are, supply and demand, simple economics, right? So let's look at a pair of tackies, okay? Now, if I look at the demand for that tackies, right, that now becomes a downward sloping curve. This is explained by, if you look at the price of the tackies, which is here. So if the price is high, then there's a low quantity demand. So that is why the price is high, in this case, like $275, and then the quantity demand is only 10. But if the price of these same tackies drops to say $50, then the quantity demand becomes more. So just assume, like, if you wanted, so you're actually getting more demanded because the price is less. So which makes sense. So as the price rises, you want less. As the price drops, you want more. Simple consumer behavior. Now that's the demand curve. So if I look at just the same thing, looking at the supply curve, it's opposite. Now this is upward sloping, which says that if the price is low, they don't want to produce too many. But if the price rises, then they will provide much more shoes, because remember, at the higher price they can make more profit. The suppliers, this is. So this is the supply curve. So it's an upward sloping curve, which means that when the prices rises, the supplier will produce more because he gets more profit. But if the price is down less, he's going to produce less because he get less profit. So simplistically, again, if we just look at the demand curve, downward sloping, the supply curve, upward sloping. So let's put these two curves together, which is what market economics is. So you put the supply and the demand curve. So there's your demand curve, downward sloping, supply curve, upward sloping. So this is effectively supply and demand economics. This is as simple as it is. So the theory is that where these 2 points meet, you see where the supply equals to the demand, that's kind of your market equilibrium. So that is where the suppliers will supply what the consumers want, what they demand. So this point here, the point of intersection, is that point. So at 100 Rand, for example, you would then supply 51 sort of tackies, and then that's market equilibrium, everybody's happy. Well, suppliers will supply what you want, and then consumers will buy what you give them. And then obviously now, when you look at economics deeper, these curves start shifting. So this orange bar goes up, and then the blue also goes down. Now remember, once tariffs came in, which is it's coming, this has changed things significantly. Because now if you look at, if that's your point of equilibrium and the demand is still the same, suddenly now the price starts going up. So how do you even start drawing this curve? Because now the entire curve starts to, the shape of the curve starts to change, which is not simple economics. Normally you look at elastic, inelastic, all that theory, but the point is that something happened with tariffs, okay? So but what I need to show you, and what we're going to look at in the next video, is that if you look at the US debt clock, right? This is now, remember, supply and demand is simple economics. This is people buying and people selling. The US debt clock, okay, as you can see here, shows that the US debt right now is $36 trillion, right? $36 trillion, that's the US debt. It's at the debt ceiling at the moment. Now imagine supply and demand is effectively people buying and people selling. The US has been buying up to $36 trillion. So if you think of it as someone that's got a credit card, someone spends a lot of money, the US owes $36 trillion. And then in the next chapter, in the next video series, we're going to look at how supply and demand affects this, what the effect was of tariffs on the bond market, and we can also look at the time value of money. But for now, all I just need you to know is that the supply curve is upward sloping, the demand curve is downward sloping, see it slopes down, and then the supply and demand, they intersect at a point. Okay, so that's as simple as economics is. So that's it for series 2. I'll catch you on series 3. Okay, bye.